Okay, so the second primary source that I have is the actual registration card for my great-grandfather, Sergeant Edward Zagurski. I was able to locate this two ways, actually. The first being through Ancestry.com, which I then went a little further and paid for a upgraded membership where I could actually receive the documents from his enlistment. The second way that I actually came across of it was I called my grandfather in St. Louis, Missouri, Alan Zagurski, Edward's son, and I asked him if he had any historical documents or artifacts from our family from this time when Sergeant Edward Zagurski was in the Army. And my grandfather actually had a container of some of the small artifacts. I wasn't able to get pictures from them because we are in two different states, and he is a little older, so trying to get those photos was hard. But he was able to share them with me and read me some of the documents that he had. He had the original registration card. He had 2 or 3 letters home to my great-grandmother, to Diana, just sharing his feelings of how he missed her, what the conditions were like, what the other soldiers were feeling. He also had some kind of like scratch notebook recordings. He was trying to explain it to me a little bit better, but I'm gathering something along the lines of like a notebook that he was keeping track of different missions and things that they were doing at that time. So I think that this intertwined with 2 other primary sources that I had specifically found, one being a interview with World War II survivors with Newsweek, done by Associate Editor Tim Baker, and he did interviews asking for just a small scope of how these soldiers felt during the time, as well as a book by Klinkowitz, which specifically talk about those memoirs, documents, diaries, how those soldiers in the Army and the Army Air Force were feeling, what their emotions were, the conditions were like, and all of these primary sources, all 3 of them, give first-hand account on what's going on during this time, not just on the forefront of the missions part, but on the home front side of how these soldiers were feeling and how they were missing their loved ones just as much as their loved ones were missing them.